Hey, Decathlon Gamer, welcome back to PCM22. This is Dragons episode 34, and it is the signing special, and we are already on to signing day yesterday. And in the last episode, we found a new sponsor. We finally found a proper Asian sponsor, and we are moving to Qatar Airways for next season with a $133,000 per month sponsorship deal, which is 20,000, exactly 20,000 ahead of where we are this current season. So we already know that we have at least 20k extra to spend, plus whatever expiring contracts and whatever leftover money that we had. We also, for the first time, find ourselves in a pretty decent financial position, as we currently sit on 444,000, meaning we can afford to go a bit deeper when it comes to our staff and how much we set aside to pay them, as we do have room for, we're doing well financially, we have some play, but we will check those finances here real quick. We'll also check what money we have, and so we can find kind of an exact number of what it is we feel comfortable in spending for the coming year. Seeing that we've been promoted to Continental Pro, our average winnings over the course of this season has been about 8 to 10,000 per month. We've had one empty month without racing. We've had one month that was quite a bit higher than that. And so again, they kind of offset each other, and ultimately hits, I'd say, an average of about 9, maybe 10K. Let's round up. Let's not be so conservative. So we can throw in an extra 10K based on earnings. Current spending for this year, 20,000 for our young dragons, for our U23s program, 10K in salary, 10K in operating costs, and then 73,000 for rider salaries currently, and 33,000 for staff, assuming that we keep the same staff levels entering next season. That currently drops us down to just 20,000 to spend. The increase, we are just about essentially level. Now we're going to get a little boost in December. We know we can go a little bit deeper anyway and see that number dwindle down, but let's see how much we are freeing up in rider salaries for the coming season. For the moment though, that only gives us roughly 25k to spend. I don't know how accurate it is, but going into the team management, you can affect your squad size. It can go all the way up to 20. This is my U23 team, by the way, and down to 8. And if you look at where we're at for 10, it's got us labeled as 18,000. What we're actually seeing is 20,000 in terms of cost. So it's not 100% accurate, but you drop it from 10 to 9, and we're looking at $6,000 worth of saving. So we're going to confirm that, and we're going to drop ourselves down to 9 for the coming season. One less rider in our development team, but saving $6,000 is that much more that we can give to, say, Schechter or one of our other returning riders, or a new rider for the year. And with just 10,000 in expiring contracts, ultimately, at most, we can afford to spend about 45,000 in the coming season. Realistically, we should try to keep it to about 40,000 for the coming season, but with the number of riders we are trying to re-sign, that's not too bad of a prospect. And remember this key thing about Schechter in particular. Schechter is a pretty good rider who is nearly at his maximum now. We would love to keep him, as he will make us that much more successful. He will help ensure our position in Continental Pro, which is obviously very important. However, if we do not re-sign him, as long as we are still able to stay Continental Pro, which is obviously a massive key going forward, even if we can't re-sign him, he is good to the point that he will easily get picked up, probably by Israel Premier Tech, as he's Israeli, but he will go out there and he will do good things, just not for us. And as we've already seen, riders are finding success on other teams and still helping with our overall objective, and therefore it's not the end of the world if we cannot hang on to Schechter. He is a good Asian rider that we developed and will put forth out into the world if we can't hang on to him. Lieberman, Dai are also 5-star talents. Brandon Noah at 4.5 is the one who is almost certain to be let go of the 4 riders, but if we can, we will retain them. And there wasn't any amazing prospects in this year's pool, albeit one rider. And so we're going to aim to sign that one rider first and foremost, and then look to retain some quality riders if we can afford to. That top talent is Musabekov, Alexei Musabekov. He's with the Astana development team as of right now. He is 19 years of age, currently a 3-star rider who is a 6-star prospect as a stage racer. He is looking at elite level, or at least extremely good level climbing and time trialing ratings, which could really propel us forward. Overall, looking at about a 5-star prospect, but phenomenal combination that could be incredible for us. Right now, though, only a 66 mountain. He is more of a puncher currently. I suspect that he's going to take off really quick with the potential that he has, and just 19 years of age. I'm going to try to sign him to just 1 year for his first contract, and then re-sign him for the 3-year contract next time, hopefully still at or close to minimum. If we can re-sign him to a 3-year deal at 4K, that's going to be a lot better than trying to re-sign him in 3 years when he's already 5 stars and incredible. That 4th year is going to be pivotal, and I'd rather be paying $4,000 for 3 years with, an extra $4,000 or $5,000 overall, versus having to pay $60,000-$70,000 just to try to keep him around in that 4th year. Getting him for 4 years will be big. I want to risk 2 years, and if he doesn't want to sign the 1 year, we'll do 2 years and then sign him, but it's likely to be much more by that point. Hopefully, by that stage, not already in the absurd territory where we only end up getting him for 2 years instead of 3. And he signs, so that's good. We get him for 1 year up front, and we'll definitely be able to sign him for significantly less, but possibly more than minimum in that 2nd year. But again, that'll be worth it to have that, essentially that 4th year tacked on up front by going this route. One more young rider that's definitely not the same level of prospect, but pretty good, that I want to ensure that we are able to get signed before I move on, and in particular because he's from one of those smaller, weaker nations that if he does get to his maximum, he could be pretty useful for us and maybe help start boosting his nation a bit. Sirinkaya of Turkey is this next prospect. He's a little bit more of a puncher than anything else, but he'll be pretty balanced, which will make him a good, strong domestique. And if he has a +5 one day, he could easily put himself in position to be the leader on that particular day and win a stage on that particular day, and maybe get a little boost in the popularity for Turkey. And for this one, we're definitely looking at that 3-year profile and nothing more. We'll see if he signs on this one. Not quite, but we can bump up luxury teammate and probably get the job done, and it does. So we keep him on minimum. So that's 2 riders signed for 5K of that 40 to 45 that we're looking at, with only 4 expiring contracts and not being in need of a major expansion to our roster. And I had 3 guys that I would like to retain out of the 4 that are expiring. It's pretty natural where we're headed next. Let's see what we can do with those 3. Before I offer to sign any of them, I want to see what their demands are and what that adds up to. And are we in range to sign those 3 guys with the 35 to 40,000 that we have remaining? Backwards to how I would normally do it, I'm going to go in reverse. We'll start with the weakest of the 3 riders, and that is Dai. He's at a 79 sprint, 79 acceleration, which is getting pretty dang good. Not quite Schechter level, but he's absolutely our primary lead out and a good number 2 option. Weak rider otherwise, almost maxed out, but only 21 years of age and can be successful for some time. And as he is from Taiwan, and Taiwan has a decent training structure but low popularity, with enough of a population, you bump that popularity a bit and you can get some decent riders coming out of here. So let's hope that he will re-sign for 6K or something like that, as that would be quite helpful to us. He's looking for 17.6 though, and that means there's a good chance that he or Lieberman are going to be let go. Dye and Lieberman had 100% interest. The only rider on our list who does not have that is Scheckter, and that's going to make it that much harder to re-sign Scheckter. If Dye is asking for 17, you would imagine Scheckter is going to be asking for quite a bit more than that, in particular with the interest level being a little bit lower. Now, Lieberman, on the other hand, is a 79 mountain, 74 hills, definitely a different profile. But with some progression still a little bit mountain rating wise, he can get over 80. And Lieberman's an important rider for us. I think Israel is definitely one of those nations that can see a pretty big boost. He's got 3 victories now, and 146th in the world rankings. Not quite where Scheckter is, but I think he is a pretty important rider for us. And he's leveled up quite a bit this year, but unfortunately that also means his price tag is likely to have gone up quite a bit, and it has 24. This is going to be tough. Maybe it's a no Scheckter and it's Lieberman and Dye that we end up hanging on to. And finally, taking a look at Scheckter with his 80 sprint, 81 acceleration. You can see how he is definitely better than what you have with Dye. Very similar overall rider profile, just he's already there. He still has a little bit more in the sprint department, so he's not quite maxed out yet. Maybe one more point, so 81 sprint or acceleration seems possible still. Not much else anywhere else. And also just 22 years of age though. So all 3 riders are young and have plenty of future victories ahead of them. He's already got 17, 25th in the world rankings, and could this very year put us in a position to boost Israel, and he could continue to do so with another team. That was a very useful rider for them if we cannot afford him, but let's see what is the damage. 34,000 already. So I can either re-sign him, and remember, I don't think we're going to get him. Absolute leader is not something he wants, but absolute sprinter probably will be. 3 years is what we would be looking at, and can we sign him for less? I only get 3 chances with Scheckter, and this is going to make my decision quite easily. If I start with him and leave out Dye and Lieberman, they're going to go off to other teams and have successful careers. Scheckter is the one who can win the most and would be the most useful and would boost our profile. Wouldn't that be something if we somehow make World Tour status right now? We are 25th in the index. He would seemingly bump us up. Okay, there is that profile. Wow, that would bump us all the way to 14th currently if we were to sign Scheckter. That would assure our position in Continental Pro quite comfortably, as right now it's certainly not assured, as there's a lot of free agents out there that will sign and we will bump down a fair bit. Having Scheckter is going to be important. I think it's probably more important retention-wise of Continental Pro than signing the other 2 would be, as we have quite a few 5-star guys, but Scheckter is kind of the definite leader. And actually, if we were to sign him for 30K, which he did not, in fact, we're not even close to it, and that's our problem here. If we were to sign him for 30K, I would think we would be able to re-sign Dye, who's asking for a bit less than Lieberman. But that's looking like that's not going to happen. We are going to be spending, well, we had 35 to 40K. We can push for that. I think Scheckter is the guy you've got to have. So we'll try. He was asking 34, but because of this, I think it's going to take more. Let's try 36. We have 40 max, so that's as high as we can go, and it's looking like it's not going to be enough. That's the most we can offer, and Scheckter will be heading off to another team. So our position in Continental Pro is somewhat in jeopardy, as we cannot afford to sign Scheckter. We come up a bit short, so he's going to be moving on. Let's hope that that does not jeopardize our position and that we are able to maintain our status. Now, Schechter's obviously the top guy, but Lieberman and Dye are currently the next two in terms of that decimal point. So re-signing the pair of them will bump us up, because for the moment, Alpasov, Locke, and Oscar are the three that we are relying on for this 25th in the index. Now, they're not going to bump us up the same way that Schechter is, but re-signing, hopefully, the pair will at least bump us up a little bit, because it'll remove Locke and Oscar for the time being as the guys and bring us up, 2/10, 3/10, and that could bump us up to, maybe 20th or something like that for the time being. And that hopefully will at least secure our future in Continental Pro. Dye, I think, is more important to sign than Lieberman, as we have a number of climbers, even though Lieberman is tops. Without Schechter, Dye was the only other sprinter we had. We need Dye if we're going to get victories. He has 10 of them, so that's an important piece. I think a more important piece to retain, and especially with what we could do with him at our disposal as the main guy, prospectively with Taiwan in building them up. I'm going to offer him 2K less, changed the offer to absolute sprinter. We only get 3 shots at this, but I know he's going to be happy with the roll. He's definitely going to be happy with the length, and he's got that 100% interest, so we might be able to get away with underpaying him a bit. Oh, that is so absurdly close, and actually it's 100%. But the reason why the negotiations haven't concluded is you cannot have anything in the red and the salary is red. So if he was asking 17.6, we can't be far off from yellow. Let's try 16.6. It's yellow, and for that, the offer suits him. So 16.6 is what we get Dye signed for. That's obviously not money that we're happy to be spending, but it does boost our index, like I said, about 5 spots. Those couple tenths making a pretty big difference, but that's also worrying how tight it is in the field, and as that database gets deeper, the demands go higher, and without that 5.5-star Schechter, there is still concern that we will not be around in Continental Pro next season, and that would be shocking and very harmful to what we are trying to do here. Before re-signing Lieberman, we already know he's asking for 20,000, and we can theoretically afford that. We might be able to get him down to about 18 or 19K and save a little bit, but that's going to stretch us right to the edge of the budget that we could use, which means come next year, if we get an increase of 25,000, well, other than expiring money, that's going to be about all we have, which means we could have some complications next year re-signing some riders once again. So there's a trade-off. So I want to make sure that it's worth it to us to actually spend that money on Lieberman, as opposed to letting him go. Like I said, we do have other quality mountain riders. We do, with Dye, have a healthy boost at least, but maybe not enough. I am still nervous, therefore probably going to re-sign Lieberman. Probably going to make that plunge, because we need to make sure we assure our position. Let's see what's expiring next year. So next year, Alpasov down to Liam Allen are all expiring. Liam Allen was a bust. He's going to be gone, so that's 2,500 that we're going to save. Taraskin, after all these years, just not developing. We're probably going to end up letting him go this time. Yamamoto's at 31. We've found other guys that are good, stronger climbers. He's finally been overtaken. We're going to let Yamamoto go. That's a decent amount coming in. Hamad, if he doesn't continue to develop, what's his potential like? He's still got some room, but man, oh man, is he not progressing terribly fast. We'll probably let him go as well. And so that's a growing trend of quite a few expiring contracts that are going to be outgoing and bring in some money for us. I mean, we're looking at quite a bit there. Now, Gunai has a lot of potential and has been developing fast, so we will probably re-sign him. Reddy, was he almost at his max? No, he's still got quite a bit. So we're going to look to re-sign that pair, and I would imagine at least one of them will be 5 stars by this time next year. But Yamamoto's going. They changed how the order looks. It's kind of flipped. Okay, Oscar is definitely going, and that's massive savings next year. 15.8. We're looking at having a lot of additional money plus whatever progression. We're looking at 45,000 plus next year available to us, and that's the kind of territory we need to be in to sign a big contract to one or two guys. And the one or two guys at this point, we're looking at possibly Gunai and Reddy being a lot more expensive if they level up, and you assume at least one of them will by next year. Locke, Alpasov already in that territory. How are they looking? Locke is just about maxed out and only a 78 mountain, so wouldn't be essential to re-sign him. Lieberman already is 1 point better and still has a little bit more potential where he may hit an 80. So an 80 for Lieberman, a 78 for Locke. Suggests spend the money on Lieberman, never mind Locke. Alpasov, on the other hand, well, he's maxed out on his mountain. It's time trialing that's still available, and he's a 79. So again, same sort of scenario of this is a guy that's already pretty much capped out, and Lieberman's a better option. So there's your answer. Resign Lieberman now. Don't worry as much about the money next year. We're going to have $45K to spend, and we only have 4 guys that we even need to consider re-signing, and none of them are as good as Lieberman or will be as good, but there's 2 guys with very high potential that we suspect one of those come next year is going to be that 20K kind of guy. Maybe both, and then you ignore Alpasov and Locke in the end as they get overtaken in the coming year. So back to Lieberman. Absolute leader. I'm absolutely fine with that. He doesn't like a 1-year contract. Good. Neither do I. We need to lock him up for 3 years, as he's going to be one of our best climbers for many years to come. Now, the salary I'm not happy with. He's already not happy with 20K, but let's see if we can bring that down. I don't think 17K is going to go over too well with him. We'll try 18K. Boy, oh boy, is he not happy with that money. We only get 2 more attempts. 20K was certainly in the wheelhouse of what we can do. Let's jump to there because we're only going to get 2 more shots at this. Oh boy. Max I could do to re-sign him and not go beyond our budget. 23K it is. Okay, we got him. He bumps the profile to 18. The combination of those 2 riders will bump us a little bit further. How much, I don't know. I don't think it's going to push us up to the 14 territory where Schechter would have. But if it can get us up to 16 or 17, the combination of these 2 guys will be pivotal. But we did push it right to the extreme of our signing range with this 23-4. As combined, that put us just about to 45,000. It was 44 something. So that certainly was our limit. With 4 expiring contracts, re-signing 2 of those, 2 riders out, 2 riders in, we're looking at a team with the exact same size come next season. And Sedenkaya and Musabekov aren't great right now. They are definitely development prospects, but they are better than some of the guys that are with the team as of right now. But of course, the loss of Schechter is a huge blow. I mean, it is a huge blow to our team, but like I said, it's not all bad because of the trade-off. He is clearly going to get picked up almost certainly by Israel Premier Tech, as he will be their number 1 target. I would assume that they can afford to sign him at 35K. That shouldn't be much of a problem. They are paying, or were in real life paying a hell of a lot more than that to a certain former Tour de France winner. But for us, it does hurt our profile. You can see we're taking a big notch in our sprint, and it's dropping because Dai is good, but 2 good sprinters becomes one good sprinter, becomes a big drop in rating. For now, that's World Tour level. For now, all the way up to 13th, actually a spot higher than it would have been for Scheckter alone. Surprising. That means those guys are really, really close to 5.5 star status. And that means that Locke and Oscar are barely 5-star territory. So, we're talking about a pretty healthy upgrade to our index with those two coming back. But as much as that does bump us up, I'm still slightly nervous. But with 3 5-star, with 5 5-star guys at as high as that bumped us, I think we should be looking still at Continental Pro next season and not being in trouble and losing it. And with Oscar going out, Oscar is not going to get any better, and should not be a concern to lose him next year. And even losing Locke doesn't take away from our top 3. So, and Locke's already pretty much maxed out. But Alpasov does have an expiring contract. That one's going to be a little more worrying. But Reddy and Ganai, you can see, are right there as the next guys at 4.5 star, ready to hit 5 star. And you could see them bumping things up again next year. But like I said, that means that's going to put them into a much more expensive territory. 5.5 stars, a bit too rich for our blood. 5 stars, we'll be able to afford 1 to 2 guys next year. But with a lot more expiring contracts, we're going to have a lot more holes to fill in the coming season than what we had this year. And finally, our first glance at the index. Of course, yes, okay, fine, great, awesome. We're all the way up to 13th, and we are a solid 4-star team. But look how solid the 4 stars goes down to, and how close. I mean, from about 26th, you're not at 4 stars, but 3.5 is way down here at 37th. So I'd say from, really 26th on up, you've got teams very capable of overtaking us with little change to what they have. And there's going to be some teams down here that have plenty of good signings ahead of them. And so finally, let's look at what sort of damage is out there for us. 1, Pogacar is available. He's still only 28. He's got plenty of years of dominating. Van der Poel, Asgreen, Charmig, 82 hills. Not great otherwise. 81 resistance. Good acceleration, but a rider who is a bit overrated to be a 6-star with that sort of level. But Vernon, so another one at 26. 83 is his sprint. Van Aert, of course. Man, oh man, what a phenomenal rider he is. Kill to have him on our team. Carapaz, the last of the 6 stars. So, I mean, there's 7 6-star riders out there, and there's plenty of 5.5 star talent to really boost some teams. Let's hope that they go to the same, 20 or so teams, and none of those lesser teams pick those guys up, because once you get down in that 5-star territory, that's where we are with a lot of guys. And the top end of that group is going to end up, I would say, largely in some Continental Pro teams. We are going to drop quite a bit in the rankings, but let's hope that we stay comfortably in Continental Pro. And, not just in, but comfortably. Otherwise, I will continue to remain nervous for many seasons to come. But we've got at least 2 solid 5-star guys locked up for the next few years. That's a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, we have to bid farewell to Michael Scheckter, our best rider. But at least we know he's going to find a good home. And we do retain our 2 next best riders. And again, with that 3-year, that's a positive sign. But there's still some concern of where we stand at this point. I think we'll be okay. I hope we'll be okay. I'm fairly confident. I'd say 90% sure that we are safe. But again, a database that just gets deeper and deeper and deeper is cause for concern, that you have to continually get better yourself just to stay where you're at. I do not think, even though we are 13th right now, that we are going to be sniffing a World Tour spot this year. If we had Schechter, Lieberman, and Dye all re-signed for the money that we did, maybe, just maybe, we could be sniffing a place at World Tour level. But without the key guy, without Schechter, just very, very unlikely to be happening. That is going to do it for this episode, though. We'll have to wait and see how things turn out as the transfer market, as these riders get signed and find a new home for next season. I'm a Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.